powers must act together, because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu.
Somewhere Europe has to grow out of the mindset that Europe's problems are the world's problems, but the world's problems are not Europe's problems.
चुन चुन करके हिसाब लेना ये मेरी फितरत है.
Why should it be a problem if I'm smart enough to have multiple options? You should be admiring me.
भारत झुकने वाला भी नहीं.
The rise of India will be determined by India. It will be determined by our strength, not by the mistakes of others.
The old order is not coming back. We shouldn't mourn it. Nostalgia is not a strategy.
Hey guys, now in this video, let's talk about something very interesting and very important at the same time. And that thing is that how US is planning to steal Iran's money, Iran's oil money precisely. That's number one thing. Second thing is how US is planning for this ground troop, the boots on the ground invasion of Iran. And all these MOUs, the ceasefire, peace, all that is nothing but just a build-up tactics, which is being done from time to time, like that. Okay. And that's what these two things we are going to basically discuss. Okay. Now let's get to the first thing first. That is how US is planning to steal Iran's money. See, it goes back to this whole thing, the tactics of stealing money. Actually, it goes all the way back to 2003 from the Iraq's invasion. What happened with the Iraq's invasion? That US entered Iraq, all that, Saddam Hussein was gone, everything happened. Now what the US did is that what they did is they made an agreement with Iraq that Iraq's oil revenue, they're deposited into a central bank account, central Bank of Iraq account in the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Okay, so there is an account opened in Federal Reserve Bank, branch of a Federal Reserve Bank in New York. That account is called Central Bank of Iraq. That's what they call it. So all the oil that Iraq sells, that money that comes from it, it goes into that central bank account. And legally, on paper, they say that that account belongs to Iraq and all that. But in practical terms, US controls all that. The crucial gateway. That's what US does. And this is why you notice that Iraq's prime minister was in US too when Dr. Trump, or Donald J. Trump, he was saying, oh, what a handsome guy, all that mumbo jumbo he was doing. So Iraqi prime minister was here for a reason, which will lead to the next thing that I'm going to talk about. Okay. But for now, this is what exactly the technique was. Technique was simply to open Iraq has the Iraq Central Bank account is in Federal Reserve of New York, and all the money goes there. So but technically, Iraq sells oil, US takes the money, and what do you call that thing? I mean, this is called like security deposit or something. In good old days when thuggery was on the rise and all the thugs used to ask for security money, that they give me the money or I will kill you, like that. So it's that type of deal. Okay. So the problem with Iraq is that Iraq's GDP or Iraq's finances are 90% of it is run by the sale of the oil. And that makes that arrangement basically, that's why the Iraq oil sale becomes very important for Iraq. So if Iraq, let's say, decides to walk away from this whole entire arrangement, then Iraq will have to deal with the financial crisis, that instability and all that good stuff, right? So this is what the whole entire thing is. Now, then comes to Venezuela. So Iraq basically was, I would say, more like a a warning. Venezuela was the mechanism. Okay, what happened in Venezuela is that Venezuelan oil is sold by Venezuela, but and Venezuelan oil is basically its money goes to Venezuelan bank and all that. But the thing with Venezuela is that US buys most of the Venezuelan oil. Okay, so US says that okay, if you don't buy it, then you won't find the market for it. And then they also control lots of other aspects of it, that the licensing, the properties, all that good stuff. So basically, on different ways they do it. Okay, in Venezuela. Then comes Iran. Now, Iran is sort of I think, a tedious case. Why? Iran is a tedious case. Iran is a tedious case because over the period of time, over a long period of time, what Iran has done is that Iran has made its own payment system. Okay, so Iran was used to trading in its national currencies. Iran's economy has been dollar free for a very long time. So for US to really take the dollar or seize it, this that, that's just not really a very viable option. Whatever little bit of Iran's money they have, it's there. I mean, it's stolen money anyways. So so Iran basically is not going to, the way I'm looking at it is that taking money from Iran like that is not going to be that easy. So what exactly are the options to, so that Iran can be financially controlled? The number one option is that is being done or imposed right now. That option is that sanction Chinese refiners from buying Iranian oil. That's number one thing. Now, if you cannot sanction, or let's say you sanction it, but best thing is to put a blockade where, so that Iranian tankers do not get out. And then what's going to happen is that simply Iranian oil sale is not going to happen. That's number one thing. Okay. Second thing is that pressure Iraq, UAE, Turkey, and other regional channels that are there, right? So that the regional channels that actually used to help Iran. These are the channels that were helping Iran. Okay, to move the funds and all that. So they're gonna probably force them to not do any of those things. If you look into it, then I think this is why Donald Trump met actually Erdogan as well, and then he's been meeting with Iraqi PM, and then UAE. I think visit was just a normal, but overall, this is what's going on behind the scenes. All these meetings are done for this purpose. Okay, then what was going to happen is the way I'm looking at it is that US will try to uh, enter Iran and control the Kurg island, meaning that what their goal is, overall goal is that deploy now this. So after the money stealing plan, money Iran's oil money stealing plan is directly related to the how do I put it, invasion, so-called invasion. But I think that invasion may not actually be invasion. Okay, now let me explain you why I'm saying this. Okay, and for that I'm gonna have to share my screen, and then we will talk about it. Okay, this is gonna get interesting. Okay, let me actually start my pen. So, Iran is see, it may look like that they are planning to invade Iran, but I think that they're not going to invade Iran as such, the way in the conventional sense, because Iran is too big to invade and all that. And Tehran, if we look into the map, okay, let's look at the map. So now, first of all, you have to understand this, that US is building up its forces here in Kuwait and Bahrain, right here. This is why Iran is bombing here right now, and Iran is bombing here, because all the forces and assets are right now here that US is planning to actually use to actually invade Iran. Let's just say that, okay? But here's the game, though. Okay, game is that let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, so if you start to look into these things a little bit more, then uh, Persian Gulf, and what you can do is like this. Right there, okay? Now, if we, there you go, Khark is right there. So you see this. So what their idea is this, okay? Their idea is that build up here, okay, and build up in Bahrain, and then what do you do is right here is the Khark Island, okay? So what they're thinking to do is, at least in my mind, is that they're gonna bomb right here, from here, and bombing is not gonna be like a rapid bombing or something. They will just leave it be. It's just what they're going to do is that they're going to make sure that it is completely useless for Iran. That's the whole entire goal here. Now, and right now at least 50,000 troops, US troops, are ready. Okay, 50,000. Now I don't know if 50,000 will be enough to really invade Iran, a full-fledged invasion, or the idea is that okay, uh, that just do some sorties from Kuwait to Kharg Island, and from Bahrain to Kharg Island, so that they can actually, because what US has to mainly do is counter the ground, sorry, these small boats that are there in these waters, okay, that are causing the problem. Now, so they may be planning to simply bomb here and then from here to here, that's it, okay, and make Kharg Island useless, completely useless for Iran. That's the whole idea, all right? Now, the possibility of a ground invasion, okay, will be this, that since Donald Trump has been talking to, what you call it, Iraqi president, also Iraqi prime minister who was there, okay, so he talked to him. So I am thinking that he may be probably asking about some deals, that okay, that how about we have this, use Kuwait as a safety net for all the troops and everything, fair enough, and then what you do is that you use Iraq, and then you enter Iran from Iraqi side, okay, from this side right here, okay, you enter Iran from here, okay, and if you look into it, then Tehran is right here, and this is Iraqi border, okay. Now this is a good bit of distance, make no mistake, this is a good bit of distance, okay. So going and capturing Tehran is not going to be easy, okay. If anyone thinks that it's going to be easy, then no, it's not even going to be easy, and it's not even going to be a piece of cake, even to from here to here, that's a long distance. Now, to put this in perspective, US was in Afghanistan for 20 years, okay? 20 years. And out of those 20 years, actually, US had only captured Kandahar. That's it. And Kandahar is the largest province in Afghanistan. That's about it. And that is, like, I would say 30% of Afghanistan. US couldn't even control anything else in Afghanistan. All right. For 20 years they were there, and only they controlled Kandahar. Iran is bigger than Afghanistan. I'm just putting this in perspective for you, okay? Now, so what exactly is the game then, right? The game is, the way I'm looking at it is that move the troops from here to here like this, okay? Move the troops from here, and then what you do is that you do use air support to block this part right here, okay, so that all the boats and all don't enter in this part, and you take tank and everything else and you enter here, okay. So what's gonna happen basically is that if there is no Iranian navy here, okay, no boats or anything here, then Iran will have to do a ground fight, okay. And that's one thing. Second thing is that So no boat. So US can move inside from here into through the tanks and all that. They move that thing, mobilize it, and then what do you do is that you start to capture only these areas up to here, and then lock in the Kharg Island and leave the rest. That's the At least that's what they're probably thinking, that oh, that can be done. Okay. And how do you like it? Then the question really is that okay, fair enough that you enter from here and you enter from here and you just lock it and this and that, but the real question is that not just actually locking the area but actually staying there. For how long can you lock it? That's the question. And in case of Iran, I don't think that it's locking this whole entire thing is going to work out. Okay. So, yes, Donald Trump may be planning this whole entire 50,000 troops and all that plan, but I seriously doubt it. I think what they're thinking is that bomb Iran, and if when Iran runs out of drones and missiles and all that, then you enter because that's when you have diminished Iran's ground attack capability. Okay, so and once that happens, then what do? You cut a deal with Iran, just like you had a deal with Iraq. You put your guy in there in the regime, and then what do? You just control their money. That okay, your money comes to my bank account. We will open it for you, and then what you do? You take that money, you go do development and all that, but you never use that money to do any kind of nuclear power plant or any such thing. That is the best thing they can do. That's the best bet. Why? Because Iran was trading in yuan, that is Chinese currency. Iran had its own payment system and all. So dollar was not a problem for Iran. Now, is this whole entire cockamamie plan going to work? I think it's not going to work. Simple thing being that I think that Russians and Chinese are they're just waiting. It's a waiting game. Okay, they're just waiting for US to make this mistake of boots on the ground, and then what do is that that's when you start to actually help Iran. Donald Trump may be saying that, oh, Chinese are not going to help and this and that. Chinese are not stupid, okay? If you look into the map, if you look into this map, okay, right here, this is Iran. Now, if Iran falls, you have to understand this. Then Iran falls, then you are basically surrounding Russia. Russians will have problem with that. Russians are not going to tolerate somebody else in their neighborhood. Why? Because Russians just for this. If you look into it, sorry, look at this. Okay, this is Iran and Russians are right here. Okay, back in the day, Soviet Union used to be all the way up here, right here. That's what it is. Okay, Azerbaijan, Georgia, all this used to be Soviet Union. Okay, now this is why Russians never allowed any Western government in Georgia. They did a regime change here. Same thing. Why Russians and Chinese they support Armenia and they keep Azerbaijan engaged. These are the reasons. Okay, so for them it's a serious threat. Okay, if Russia is surrounded like this, and if Russia is surrounded and Russia falls, then who do you think will be next? That's the question that you have to ask. It will be Chinese, and they understand that thing very nicely. Okay, so these are the strategies now, and this is why I think that uh, yes, there is plan, there is build up that is being going on in Kuwait and Bahrain, around 50,000 strong troops, and probably their goal is to just simply block or make Kharg Island useless for Iran. That's it. And make Kharg Island useless for Iran and start hitting those small boats in the waters. So I think that's the whole entire plan, and they may use Iraq and Iraq's Kurdish fighters to enter Iran too as a help. But what Donald Trump fails to understand is that Iraq is almost 65% Shia population. And that 65% Shia population is not with the United States. Yes, you have a government right now that is sort of kind of, yeah, with you there. They have to, because they want that money. But is that strategy going to work? I seriously doubt that. All right. So that's the whole entire game. But at the end of it all, just the way they tried to steal Iraq's money, they will try to come up with an arrangement where Iran will be locked in. They will lock Iran's finances in through US financial systems, so that Iran just does not accept any other payment system. So this way, number one thing that the US is going to control is dollar. They will try to preserve dollar, protect dollar one way or the other. And number two thing is that this way they will control Iran's nuclear program. And number three, they are going to control is uh, your Iran's threat to Israel and all that, and Iran's military expansion and all that as well. All these things will be controlled that way. Only way to do so is that do a limited invasion, enter, put your government there, and then control Iran's finances just the way they control Iraq's finances. And for that, I think they may try to ask help from Iraq. But I seriously doubt that Iraq will do any of those things. So this is it for this video, guys. I hope you loved it. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys in another video. Take care.